You've been listening to us share about our experiment for a while now, how we're using creativity to find more peace, more alignment, and more joy in our lives. And now it's your turn. This October, we're inviting you into the experiment with us. We're hosting a creative challenge where you will get to explore your own blocks, try experimenting through small steps, and discover how creativity can bring you back to yourself. You don't have to do it alone. We'll be in it together. Come join us on Instagram and be part of the experiment. We'd love to have you. Welcome to the Art Piece Experiment. We're your hosts, two artists and friends. I'm Tasha.
And I'm Brianna.
At the end of 2024, we decided we wanted to cultivate more safety, peace, love, alignment, and excitement through our art and our art practices.
So here we are sharing our journey with you, and we're so excited you're here. We hope you enjoy our conversations. They're honest, raw, just two friends talking to each other about the realities of life and creativity. We're so excited for you to join us and be along with us for the journey.
When I was young, I loved going to the library.
Oh, same. Me too. That was like my favorite place.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I lived in this really small town, and it had this teeny tiny little library. And I remember the kids section was kind of sectioned off by this like pony wall bookshelf. I don't know if it's called a pony wall when it's a
Yeah, like
bookshelf,
one of the
but
shorter ones.
yeah,
Right.
you could kind of see over it, or at least, the grown-ups could see over it.
Right.
Um, and they had this lazy Susan
Mm.
that sat on top of the Pony bookshelf,
Mhm.
and it was just like this clear plastic, like three-tiered lazy Susan, and it was filled with these magical little mini white books that you might already know what I'm talking about. Beatrix Potter's
Yes. Oh.
stories. And I remember, I don't know if they were actually like pristine and new, but I felt like they were when I
Mm.
was young. Like they just had this like new kind of like pristine white
You
qualities
were
that
like,
they
oh,
still looked.
glowing a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was absolutely enchanted by
Mm.
these books. I don't even know how old I was. I don't think I was reading yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was just going and getting them and like discovering these little worlds of these little
Looking at the pictures.
animals that
Yeah.
wore outfits, and it was so just darling, and it completely captured me. And I remember going back every single time to see like which new ones were
Oh.
there and which ones to discover. And like now as an adult, I don't have a lot of memories of what the stories were actually about. Like I should go back and, and actually like reread
We
these.
gotta have a Beatrix Potter party.
I want to do a Beatrix party or like tea party with our kids. I think
Yes,
that
that'd
would
be so fun.
be so fun. Yeah, I love that. But it just, even though I don't really remember all of the stories and everything that I read, which might also be because I didn't actually read them, I just looked at the pictures.
Fair. That's
Like,
fair.
I never actually put that together until just now. But no, I was completely captivated and enchanted by these. And
Mm.
every single time we went back to the library, I would run up to that lazy Susan and just like, twirl it around and see if there were any new ones and get really excited if
Oh.
there were. And if there weren't, then it'd be like, okay, which ones am I going to recheck out and like
Yep. Yeah.
experience again? I just, yeah, I just loved it. And it's stuck with me all of these years. I mean, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. No, that's so sweet. And it's fun to think back about when you were a kid and think back on what really captivated you and what made
Yeah.
you like really light up, right? And it
Mm.
does, it shapes you and it affects kind of the rest of your life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as like a connection from the Beatrix Potter and that experience? Like what did that light up in
Yeah.
you?
Well, for the longest time, like ever since I was probably around that age, I said I want to be a children's book author
Mm.
and illustrator I want to be like Beatrix Potter. I want to write the stories and I want to illustrate them and I want to create these like magical worlds that people can just be delighted in and consumed in and just, have that special like moment for them
Yeah. Oh,
and
I love
creating
that.
that. Yeah, and it's interesting because as I've grown up, I realized that I mean, I always told myself, yeah, I want to illustrate children's books. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
want to do. And then I realized like that's just not the kind of art that I
Mm-hmm.
necessarily want to be making. Not that I have completely let go of that dream,
Yeah, right.
but I realized that the kind of art that I want to be making, like I don't want to be drawing little kids and like
Mm.
I can do a
Figure
fairly
drawings and stuff.
realistic portrait of somebody, but if I try to like stylize it and make it feel like it should be in a kid's picture book, it loses so much joy for me. The art,
Mm.
it just feels stressful. I don't like the way it turns out. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But then the side of this, because I always told myself I'd be a picture book,
Mm.
illustrator. But then I also always told myself that I would never be a watercolor artist,
Haha.
which was, her medium. She did,
Yeah.
I mean, it was ink and watercolor, but um, I always told myself like it's too hard. I can't do that. It's,
Mm.
not something that I will ever be good enough to even explore and try,
Mm.
which is insane. But it's interesting because now that is what I'm doing and I've been doing for the last several months through
Yeah.
our experiment.
Well, that's so interesting. I love that as a kid, that experience and that joy from those books
Mm.
fostered that desire in you and that
Mm-hmm.
joy of creating and that desire to create and make the children's
Yeah.
books. And that was something that you always kind of had and held. And then when you went for it, you were like, oh, that's actually not, maybe not for me, but it opened the door, right?
Yeah.
Even though that's not necessarily what you're doing right now, maybe you
Mm-hmm.
will in the future,
Yeah,
who
maybe I will.
knows?
Who knows?
But never say never, like the watercolor. But it opened up the
Right.
door. It opened up the creative spark, right? And
Yeah.
the excitement, which you trying things led you to figure out
Right.
more of what you liked.
Yeah. And I think part of it too was that I, at the time, like as a child, was fully okay with coming up with stories.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
That didn't feel scary to me.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But then I would pull out a little kid's watercolor set of really cheap paint
With a terrible brush.
with a terrible brush and
The hairs
printer
always fall
paper.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would be like, nah, can't
Nice.
watercolor. Like, I can't
Yeah.
get the results that I
Yeah.
want and that I
This
think
doesn't look
look
very
good.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. And looking at it and then like, well, if I draw with a pencil or colored
Yeah.
pencils or, things that I'm used to, then it turns out more the way that I want.
Yeah. You can control it a little bit more. Right.
Yeah, with the watercolor, it's just
Makes
like, well,
sense.
I'm just terrible at this and I will never be able to. And that
Right.
started from, that childhood, that belief.
Mm.
And so I think let go of the scary thing that I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I can't ever do that. And then held on to the other part of it
Mm.
of like, well, I can come up with stories. Like I do that all the
Mm.
time when I play with my brothers and I,
Yeah. Right.
friends. Like I'm always telling stories and coming up with stories, and like that part isn't scary, because I do that without even thinking sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's such an interesting realization with the watercolor and the printer paper and that it didn't turn out
Mm,
because those were terrible terrible
yeah,
art supplies. Like that wasn't,
yeah.
you couldn't make it turn out because of the actual supplies. But
Mm-hmm.
internalizing that as like your ability that I wasn't able to
Yeah,
do it because I'm not good enough to do it.
right,
But when in reality it was more to do with the resources that you had, right? And
right,
the supplies that they could not achieve the look, right? So
right.
that's interesting to realize too as you grow up. So having that block and then holding on to the part of that desire that you felt
Mm,
more confident in and
right.
that you had proof that you could do and do well and it was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
And so leaning into that part and holding on to that's cool.
yeah. But then it ended up also putting me in a bit of a box
Yeah.
because I was
Mm.
like, I was not drawing what excited me.
Mhm.
and what felt fun to me, I was like trying to force myself to remain in that childhood, like, I don't know, box
Yeah,
that I put
yeah.
myself in of, and part of that was the limiting beliefs that I had
Mhm.
was like, this is what you are capable of, this is what you can do,
Mhm.
instead of exploring other parts of it that excited me and finding what I actually liked
Yeah.
and enjoyed.
Mm. Mm. Those are really powerful realizations. And I feel
Mm,
like it takes a lot to get to that understanding, that level of understanding of your past and your childhood and how that kind of shaped everything, and then
yeah.
how it's come with you and how that's taken shape
Mm-hmm.
and how that's affected your actions and like what you believe about yourself. And I feel like that with our experiment, that is really what it's combating,
Yeah.
is those it's making us take a look.
Yeah.
It's
Being
making
really
us,
real and honest
yeah,
and
be honest and real with ourselves, and say, "Oh, this is how I'm actually feeling." And I'm looking at it, and then you explore it a little bit more, and then let's try to let it go.
yeah, and
How can we let that go?
I don't think I would have had those realizations without this if we hadn't decided to, be
Mm,
really real and honest and show up week after week after week.
yeah, because it takes being real with yourself. It takes being
Yeah,
honest and actually taking a look in the mirror, you
right.
know?
And like layers.
It's so layered, like an onion.
Like an onion, not a cake. Everybody likes cake.
That's right. Or parfait, but
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, did you have any childhood heroes that, like, creative heroes? I don't mean, your mom. As much as we love your mom's great.
Yes, always mom. Um, yeah, I mean, most of the creative people
Mm,
that I feel like inspired me were from books. Were art either artists from books or the writers. The stories were really what
yeah.
captivated me. I remember when people asked me what I wanted to be. Um, my first thing that I told anybody, when I was a kid, was a
Mm,
writer. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write stories.
love it.
And yeah, so there were, I mean, same with the children's books. I love to go to the library and just
Mm,
sit on the floor, pull out the books, look at them, I could spend
yeah.
hours there, and it was
Yeah.
so fun. And I had my favorites, and I had my favorite section,
Mm-hmm.
and always
Yeah.
wanted to go see like the fairy tales and magical things and fun, that was
Yeah.
really fun for me. But I remember this one book that we had. It was a Rapunzel um, book, but it was like the illustrations were more of kind of like Renaissance style.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so it was very different.
Mm-hmm.
But it really captivated me. It was really interesting to me, and I would just kind of study it, like look at it and study it, and it was like wow. And I think, I don't know, just things like there are a few picture books that I remember that were really like, this is the style that I really love to look at,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be pretty particular about
Yeah.
stories. What
Yeah.
it had to have good artwork that I liked. Otherwise it was like meh.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, and then more as I got older, more of the chapter books and things like that, and the storytelling, um, just the fun, the whimsical. Gail Carson
Yeah.
Levine with Ella Enchanted, and
Love it.
like that kind of vibe. That was my bread and butter. Harry Potter, of course,
Of
like all of
course.
those total fantasy
Yeah.
fan
My
over here, but
favorite one of Gail Carson Levine, I'm pretty sure this is her, of like the two
Two Princesses
princesses
of
of
Bamar.
Bamar. Yeah, that
Yes,
one. Yeah,
that's my favorite too.
loved that one so much. I didn't find Ella Enchanted until after the movie came out, I don't
Oh,
think. And
oh,
then
yeah.
realized, like, oh, same author and she has more books. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I
yes, she has a
have
lot of books.
all of her books.
It's so good.
So yeah, that was really fun. And she wrote a writing book as well that
Oh,
I got when I was older, and it was really fun. And so just all about the, just having fun with it, and
craft. Yeah.
pretending and playing, and playing with your ideas and letting loose. So that was
Mm,
really impactful for me, and I think that really helped. I mean, I didn't really niche down into like painting until I
mm-hmm.
was a teenager. So my childhood was very, very like all of the crafts, all of the things, and wide variety.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, anyway, so I think that was a good foundation for creativity as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just through trying out different things that I've come to find more of what I actually really like for
Yeah.
me, and what feels like me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's been a struggle. That's been a struggle for me is wanting to just copy other people or feel like
Yeah.
I have to do it. I see this way of doing things, and so that means that I have to do it this way.
Yep.
And thinking outside, learning how to think outside of the box and think more
Mm-hmm.
creatively in my own way. That's a journey.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that brings it back to, when I was working on children's stories
Mm,
and the illustrations for them and feeling like I couldn't do the illustrations that I wanted to do because I was trying to be like the other illustrators
yeah.
that I enjoyed.
Hmm.
And I never allowed myself the freedom to just do what I liked and what
Yeah.
I enjoyed. And you can't really come up with your style and like let it just naturally evolve if you're not leaning into that.
Yeah, if you're holding so tightly onto the outcome and
Yeah.
so tightly onto having it be perfect, like this example that I have over here in this book. I want it to
Mm,
be book worthy, illustration worthy. And so if it's not
yeah.
exactly like that, I feel like, this plays into the perfectionism and
Mm-hmm.
just holding so tightly onto that
Right.
is it kind of kills the creativity because you get
Yeah.
so discouraged and down on yourself when you're comparing yourself to others
Yeah.
or wanting it to turn out exactly right
Mm-hmm.
and don't have that room for learning
Yeah.
and for being messy,
Right. Right. And it was interesting too, because a lot of the artists that had these children's books that I really loved, they had full art careers doing other things.
Mm,
And then we're like, you know what? I'm just gonna create this for me because this is fun.
mm,
And so it was influenced by a whole life of
yeah.
creating and making art and exploring and experimenting. And it wasn't just they sat down one day as like a child with no experience and created this beautiful
Right.
masterpiece, right? Like there was so much more that went into it and, comparing like where I was at with this finished product that I loved
Right,
was
of somebody who
not
has years and years of
right.
experience, more experience,
Was not serving me. Like one of the things that I loved
Yeah.
learning about Beatrix Potter is that she did like scientific paintings.
Mm-hmm.
She did this whole like encyclopedia of mushrooms and
Yeah.
and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
her scientific paintings are amazing. They're so good.
Well, it's interesting because that was very much the acceptable thing of the time, right? That
Mhm.
was what was taught was more realistic nature, um
Yeah.
caric how do I say that? Caricatures.
Caricatures.
Yeah, thank you. The animated like things like that were not really it wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
She was very ahead of her time,
I
you
love
know?
her so much, but yes,
And
yes.
so it's cool. Yeah, it really is. It's so fascinating to see her journey. I have a book about Beatrix Potter. I love her too. It's great. But
I have
yeah, and
borrowed
to
that book. I maybe should remind you that I
oh,
have
oh,
it
that's
because
right. You still have it.
I yes.
Right. Well,
I'm making my way through it.
yeah, and so it's so fascinating to see her journey of where it was like very prim and proper and
Yeah.
acceptable of the time and what a lady
Maybe
should be doing,
still not for a woman, but
and
yeah.
and then she slowly just let go and
Yeah.
did what she wanted to do
And let it be fun
and let
and
it be fun for herself. And she got rejected so many times.
right? Oh my
So many
gosh.
times she went to, she offered her books to the publishers and it was rejected like at
Mm,
least 7 times, I feel. And so then she self-published. See,
mm,
and she's like, all right, well, I love this and I want it. So I'm just going to publish it. I'm going to find a way.
yeah.
And I feel like those are always the best and most successful projects are the ones
Yeah.
that the creators love themselves and have such a passion for and
Believe in it
and believe in
so
and have so
strongly.
much delight in it.
Yeah.
And that's what's contagious. And
Yeah.
that's why it becomes successful is because it's just so pure, you know?
Right? Well, I, for one, am really grateful she did that because
Yeah.
it's impacted my entire life.
No, yeah. Can you imagine if we didn't have Beatrix Potter? That would just it would be so sad.
So sad.
Only her scientific mushrooms, which are, I mean, that's great too.
We
But
wouldn't have known
without
about
Peter
them.
Rabbit,
Like they would have been
yeah,
lost in history. We
it-
wouldn't have known about them.
yeah. Ugh.
I know. I'm so glad. Thank you for making Peter Rabbit. Appreciate you.
Yeah. So it's such a good lesson to come back around to think about our own creativity and our
Mm,
own creative desires and
yeah.
figuring out what lights us up. And I think that reflecting on our childhoods and what was impactful to us and what brought us, excitement and joy
Right.
and made us feel alive, and like
Yeah.
ourselves. What were those things?
Yeah. Before we were, tied down to expectations and
Hmm.
society and, before we had to put ourselves in boxes to fit in, like what were the things that made us so excited?
Yeah. Yeah. I think reflecting on that, it gives such an insight into ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and that is what will help us moving forward
Yeah.
to connect and align with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And
And
to
ask,
become more of
right.
our true selves.
Yeah, and ask like, are you still leaning into those things or have they faded?
Yeah.
Have they faded away? And what would happen if you tapped back into that? What would happen?
So maybe journal about that this week. Take a little time,
Yeah.
just think about it or journal or maybe have a conversation with a friend
Or
and
us. Come talk
or
to us.
us.
We love that.
Comment in the comments below and tell us what was something that you loved as a child that you're
Mm.
either, still doing or maybe let go of that you might want to get back into. And we'll see you next time. That's it for today, friend. Thanks for spending this time with us. We hope you're leaving with a little more light, a little more peace, and maybe even a nudge to go be creative, just because it brings a little more joy to your life. If anything in this episode spoke to your heart, sparked a thought, or made you smile, we'd love it if you'd follow the show, leave a quick 5-star review, or share it with someone who might need a little creative encouragement too. And remember, your creativity matters. Your voice matters. You matter. We're cheering you on always. Until next time, keep making, keep softening, and keep showing up as your whole beautiful self.